Before we get started, here's a quick, brief message.
Just want to let you know that this is a sample, meaning that some of the components may change by the time that the Kickstarter comes around.
Now back to our regular scheduled program. Hey there, have you heard of this game? This is Vines and Flowers by Well Entertainment. In this 2 to 4 player game, your goal is to connect and complete as many flowers as possible, as long as those flowers are of the same color. The player with the highest amount of connected flowers, which should give you points, and the player with the most points is the winner of the game. This game typically takes around 30 to 60 minutes to play, and it is recommended for players to be the ages of 8 and older. And today we're going to talk about how to set up and play Vines and Flowers. So let's start with the setup. First, you're going to take the flower bed and you're going to place it in the middle of the playing area. Now, depending on the amount of players that you have in this game, you will use the chart below to show how many tiles that you're going to be using in this game. So please take a look at this chart right here. Take all 5 of the Hummingbird tiles, place 2 of them in the cloth bag and the other 3 on the fulfillment board numbered 4, 5, and 6. Shake up the bag, draw 5 tiles from the bag and place them in the market area beside the flower bed. Take all the event cards, shuffle them together, place them face down, and then deal 3 face up. Shuffle and distribute 4 petals to the players. Then players will take that petal and then get an extra of the same color. The player who planted flowers most recently is the first player. Also acknowledge me and my garden gloves. And that's how you set up Vines and Flowers. Now let's talk about how do we play the game. We're going to be looking at how a player takes their turns. We're going to be describing a few of the components and the meanings of the pieces that are behind it. As well, we're going to talk about all the different actions and phases that are in a player's turn. Now, starting from the starting player, the turns are going to go clockwise. Players are going to be crafting the flower bed together, making it into a beautiful vine and flower creation. Now, during each and every player's turn, all the players must go through 4 phases: the action phase, the fulfillment phase, the hummingbird phase, and the replenish phase. So let's look more into these phases. During the action phase, players must perform 2 actions. They can perform any combination of these actions. If you want to do the same action twice, you are more than welcome to. Now, you only have 2 options of what you could do on your turn. So you must take 2 actions, but you only have 2 options. So here are the options for actions that you can choose from. Number 1, take the tile from the market and take the petal on it, if it has any. The second option is place a flower tile from your hand onto the flower bed and score petal points. Now, those are your 2 options for actions that you can do, but let's take a deeper look into those actions. So if you decide to take from the market, you must take the first tile in line, and that's for free. The other option is that you can take any other ones, but you must sacrifice some petal points from behind your screen. For each tile that you skip, that's as many petal points as you must surrender. Now, every now and then in the market, you're going to see a hummingbird tile. Now, you either have to pay the amount in order to get that hummingbird tile so you can have a personal effect that benefits you. But what happens if the hummingbird tile is in the first slot? Well, we'll get to that a little bit later. And it's the same thing when I'm talking about personal effects. We're going to get to that a little bit later. Now, when it comes to drawing tiles, that limit is 3 at maximum. So if you have 3 in your hand, you cannot perform this action. Now let's talk about the next optional action, which is placing flower tiles for petal points. Now, when it comes to connecting these pieces together, you have to connect vines with vines, and you have to match flowers of the same colors. When you do this action, you're going to gain petals. Depending on the amount of flowers that you have connected, that's how many petals that you're going to get. The player will gain 1 petal for each complete flower of its own color. Now, here's a bit of bonus information. Whenever another player places a flower tile and it connects with that flower into the flower bed, when they collect a petal, an additional petal of the same color is also rewarded to you if you placed the previous one. So be sure to keep up with your tiles. During this action, you have to be aware that whenever you play certain tiles, there are different insects that'll be on them, and they all have different effects. There's a total of 4 insects that could possibly be on these tiles: the bee, the spider, the ladybug, and the butterfly. So let's take some time and we're going to talk about what do these do. So if you have a bee on one of the tiles that you play, this is going to assist you, and now you have an additional move that you can make. If your tile has the spider on it, now you can collect an extra tile from the market for free. If your tile has a ladybug on it, Now you can earn a ladybug meeple, which is used at the end of the game. You can use a ladybug meeple to be any color petal that you need it to be. The final potential insect that could be on a tile is the butterfly, and the butterfly is going to earn you a wild 4-hue tile. The hue tiles are basically wild tiles, which can be used for whatever color that you may want them to be and to help you gain more petal points. And those were all of the optional actions and a little bit more details about what's going to happen on your turn. That was the first phase of your turn. Now it's time to move on to the second phase, and that is the fulfillment phase. This phase, completely optional. There are contracts there on the fulfillment board, and you're able to gain ladybugs as rewards. Now, as you can see, there are 3 contract slots on the fulfillment board, and if those conditions are met, then you must do the following. You must sacrifice the number of the same petals needed to be fulfilled. For example, take 4 petals of the same color. Sacrifice 3 of them by putting it back into the flower bed. You take that 1 petal and place it in the contract slot. Now the player who is doing the sacrificing is able to take 2 ladybugs as a reward, and then you take the hummingbird tile and you shuffle it into the bag. And that's everything on the fulfillment phase. The third phase is the Hummingbird Phase. If you remember earlier, I said that there will be some hummingbirds in the market, and on occasion these hummingbirds will make it to the first slot in line. Whenever a hummingbird makes it to the front of the line at the market, you are to take it, archive it, and put it on the left side of an event card. And that is going to activate the global effects. If there isn't a hummingbird tile in the described position that I just mentioned to you, then you skip this phase. This phase doesn't mean anything. But be wary, as hummingbird tiles will sneak up on you and get to the front of the line very quickly. As I said earlier about personal effects, global effects are going to be mentioned here very soon. The final phase is the Replenish Phase. During this, the current player finishes their turn by sliding all the tiles up to whatever slots that it might be, and make sure that they are refilling the market until there are 5 tiles, and then going clockwise, you go to the next player's turn. And that's everything that happens on a turn. Now let's get a little more into it and let's talk about the effects. Now we've already mentioned the effects of all the insects, but let's talk about the personal effects and the global effects. If a single player gains a hummingbird tile from the market by paying however many petal points that they want to give away during the action phase, they must take it, archive it, and put it on the right side of the next available event card. Now this is going to trigger the effect that's going to apply to that specific player only. And a little bit more about that in a second. I'll give you an example in just a moment. Now the global effect only happens during the hummingbird phase on a player's turn. As I mentioned earlier, it's whenever a hummingbird tile is the first in line at the market. It is automatically, right then and there, archived, triggering the global effect that's going to affect all of the players. Now there are many hummingbird effects that are on the event cards. For example, let's use a specific event card. Now you can see on one side it's talking about the personal effect, on the other it talks about the global effect. So let's say a player is able to use it for a personal effect. Well, that specific player is able to gain a pink petal. But what happens if it's a global effect instead? Well, then the player with the most pink petals is going to receive a reward by getting a ladybug meeple. Now there are many other effects, such as this card. If you get the personal effect, then you can steal a flower tile from any of the other player's hand. But if it's a global effect, then all the players have to discard a flower tile from their hand. And that is a great example and understanding of the personal and global effects. So now let's talk about the end game and what happens. Now the game ends only on 2 occasions, whether that is the tiles run out of the cloth bag or the 4th hummingbird tile is placed in the market. When either of these things happen, then it's going to trigger the following endgame events. All the players are going to remove their screens, revealing how many petal points they have. The players are going to put their petal points into based on color. The petal points with the least amount is going to be the one that players will use. And then players are going to take their ladybug meeples and put that to whatever color they decide. Finally, players are going to count the points for their least amount of petal points. So a great example can be seen right here. As you see, there's players 1, 2, 3, and 4. Player 1, his least amount of petals are the pink petals, and it's 3. Player 2's least amount of petals are the yellow petals with 1 petal point. Player 3 is the orange petals, and they have a total of with 2 petal points. And player 4 is blue petals with 5 petal points. So in this scenario and in this situation, player 4 is the winner. But what happens if there's a tie? Well, that is a great question, and we're going to look into that. So let's say players 1 and 4 are tied, and their least amount is 5. Player 4 has the 5 blue, and player 1 has the 5 pink. So then what do? Next, they're going to take their next lowest number, and they are going to compare. For player 4, they have 8 orange petals. And in this example, player 4 is the winner. But what if they're tied again? Well, they're going to continue on and they're going to go through the last 2 colors until they find a numerical difference. If they are tied with all 4 colors, then they're going to just simply share the victory. And that's everything you need to know and how to set up and play Vines and Flowers by Well Entertainment. Thank you so much to the wonderful team at Wells Entertainment for allowing me the opportunity to talk about your game. This was a very exciting time and I'm very thankful for the opportunity to do so. As well, you can get your copy as soon as possible as they have launched on Kickstarter right now. So you can get your copy as soon as their Kickstarter is finished and they finish up the process of getting the game. And once that's complete, you'll be able to get your copy and play it. I really did enjoy this game. I think it's a very beautiful game. As well, the gameplay is very intriguing, it's very different, and I do enjoy all of the components that come a part of this. As well, be sure to follow me on other social media websites. You can find me on TikTok, Instagram, Facebook. As well, I have a Patreon and a Ko-Fi if you want to see content early, if you want to see behind the scenes stuff, and things that I don't publicly post. You are more than welcome to join along with the team and be able to help and support all of the future content that I may be able to put out later on. So with that being said, I'm Drew, this is Welcome to Boredom, and I'll be sure to see you in the next video. And in the meantime, let's roll that B-roll footage.